Is there anything you've done on YouTube you regret?
Yes, for sure. My content has been really misinterpreted a lot. Some people probably think that I'm some judgmental, stuck-up B-word. You create your own prison.
Your feet are held to the fire of having to deliver now that content in which you went viral for.
I don't want to prove myself to anyone anymore. They started live streaming porn because they kind of just wanted to punish me. It was awful. That to me was really one of the worst experiences.
Anna Bey is a successful YouTuber known for her channel focused on elegance, femininity, and luxury lifestyle advice. With nearly 2 million subscribers, she has built a thriving community by teaching women how to elevate their lives and embrace sophistication. Who do you think you are? So Anna, what do you think is the biggest misconception the public has about you?
I think there has been a lot of misinterpretations around over the years. As, for some people, I think that my kind of content is a little bit triggering to them. And so sometimes they don't actually really listen to what it is that I'm trying to explain, or maybe my own deliveries of certain content has not really been always, great. I think I have made some mistakes over the years in terms of not understanding that maybe some advice or some content, you need to have a lot of, you need to have a little bit of more explanation around them for kind of the general population to really understand what you're trying to explain. And I think in the past, I have just spoken my mind and being very blunt and that kind of thing. And that has definitely backfired many times. But, this is a problem that I have not just, that I've had on YouTube. I've had in my professional life too, because me as a person, I am the type who I just say what's on my mind. And I think to a certain degree, I have achieved a lot of success thanks to that trait, but it has also backfired. And so, I have noticed over the years how, for sure, my content has been really misinterpreted a lot. There was a time where, I had the label of the woman who teaches other women how to bag a billionaire, or that I'm a dating coach, or that I'm a matchmaker, and all kinds of things. Also, as an example, the label Elegance expert. I actually don't really, I don't know, I don't mind it. It's not that I feel uncomfortable with that label, but I don't feel like that, that's not exactly who I am either. I don't know. I feel like I'm a mishmash that is hard to maybe define. At least that's how I feel about myself. I don't know if the general public sees that. But so there's been a lot of misinterpretations over the years.
You said, that's not who I am. So who do you think you are that maybe the public isn't totally getting right?
Well, I love that question because but it's such a good question. And I think it's important to always ask yourself that, because, with every year that passes, we evolve, we grow, we mature, we enter different seasons of our lives. And so I ask myself this question all the time. Who am I? Who am I authentically? What are my values? What's important for me right now? And so on. And as an example, with Elegance, it's been quite interesting over the years because YouTube made me really reflect on what elegance means to me. Because before I started teaching it, I was just not really, paying a deeper attention to the actual subject. I was just oh, I love elegance, such a great tool, or I want to share it with the public, and blah, blah, blah. And that's how, that was born. But then, because when I started teaching elegance on YouTube, there wasn't really many people. There wasn't really many videos about it. I mean, surely you would have maybe some etiquette coaches doing some etiquette videos, but that was a little bit different. Elegance, not so much. High society topics, not so much. And so I started talking on these subjects, and then with Elegance, that really took off, and that's also how I really grew, because people were very intrigued by the subject, and it was interesting, and some absolutely hated it, which is fine. Elegance is not for everybody, and I can absolutely relate to that. It's for some people, and but I'm really interested in it, and I enjoy it, and I have used it as a tool in my own kind of personal development journey. Because I don't know if your audience knows, but I used to be like the opposite of elegance, or would have a lot of bad habits. I would swear. I would say I didn't have a lot of respect for myself back then. And so I guess I used elegance as a personal development tool to improve my bad habits and work on myself. I wasn't chasing some form of ideal or using it because I'm from a perfectionistic perspective. But so when I started the YouTube journey and I, did a lot of elegance content, I noticed also as elegance grew in popularity, like, on YouTube, on TikTok and that kind of thing. So you had loads of elegance experts pop up and elegance coaches. And I think that's great because I think, the more people who can spread a positive message, the better. But what I personally felt at some point was that, wait a second, I noticed that people use elegance in different ways. And it forced me to actually reevaluate elegance from my perspective, what it actually means to me. And so I know I'm giving you a long answer. I am going to get to your point. But basically, I see myself as an elegance coach, I would say, who teaches how to use elegance with authenticity and balance. And I really do not want to foster any perfectionism or extremism. And I see sometimes that some advice out there on the elegance subject is exactly that. And I don't really like it. I really do appreciate all of those, elegance coaches who have really grounded advice. That's great. But some advice out there, no, I don't agree with that.
Do you think that a lot of the elegance content has become popular after people saw how viral you went with leaning more into elegance?
I do think so. I'm sure some of them. I mean, I can't say everybody knows who I am. Everybody copied me. No way. Of course not. I definitely, some got inspired. I think a lot of people even enjoy my content, and maybe some people saw it, oh, she grew really fast because of that, then maybe I will grow really fast if I do the same thing. And, that's a normal thing as a person with aspirations to tap into, perhaps.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've done as far as on YouTube that you regret?
Yes, definitely. Where should I start? No, I'm kidding. No, it's actually primarily what I was touching upon in the beginning. It has to do with my communication. Because this is the thing, okay, for full disclosure, I've been taking speech training classes for a while because, well, you know what? This is kind of, my imperfection. Okay. I am blunt. I am straight to the point. I'm not going to beat around the bush. And to be honest, sometimes maybe the way I explain something sounds a bit too straight to the point, almost a little bit harsh, maybe. I don't know. I mean, one thing that I didn't realize before starting my YouTube career, or perhaps didn't think about, was how I'm actually speaking to the entire world. And I don't think we realize how different people are. And I'm used to chatting to my friends in my bubble, right? And we might have the same communication dynamic and jargon. But so if I go on YouTube and speak with that jargon, I mean, for sure, I'm going to offend a percentage of people, because they might not understand that or understand that culture, or, they might take offense for something that is really nothing, And so I didn't really think about those things. And also, like I told you, I didn't realize that sometimes certain subjects that I was touching upon, that I just needed to put more disclaimers, more explanations. And because not everybody knows what you know or understand what you understand. And that's what I didn't understand,
Yeah.
I didn't put myself enough in everyone's perspective, although I think it's very hard to do so. But I'm just trying to be more mindful today so that my communication comes out as clear as possible. And that is important for me, which is why I took speech training classes. And I don't know, but I think it's helping me a little bit.
I would think that is something that would be hard at the beginning. It's hard to know that, right? It's hard to know exactly how what you're saying, what you've been so used to saying in your own private life is going to land with people. And it's like you get this instantaneous feedback of like, oh, people like that did not read well, or like people did not like the way I said that. At what point did you get those speech lessons, or you realize like, oh, I've got to switch something up here?
Yeah, I started about a year ago. But to be honest, yeah, I mean, I don't take them like every week due to, time reasons. But I do them quite regularly, and it's really a good investment, I must say, especially us on YouTube. I mean, we're communicators. Like, we have to actually review our speech because I read this amazing book, by the way, Surrounded by Idiots. That's also when I came to realize that maybe I sound like an idiot. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, but it's basically, the book explains how there are kind of 4 different communication styles. And so I have a very typical red communication style, which definitely can backfire with other kind of people and their communication style, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, I highly recommend that book. So what I learned is basically, okay, what kind of vocabulary to use, because also don't forget, like, English is not my first language. So as an example, like, there was a word that I used as a title or throughout the whole video as the topic, sloppy. Like, I thought it was, a nice word. But then my speech coach told me, she's like, that's quite a harsh, strong word to use. And I told her, I'm like, no wonder people hate me. I'm kidding now, but obviously that's not going to land. And so, there are certain mistakes like that I've definitely done a lot of during the years.
Yeah. What drives you? Like, what motivates you to keep going and doing this?
So many things. I mean, okay. The creative aspect of YouTube, it's definitely one of the driving points. But the other one is, I don't know, the feeling of helping. So I do a lot of inner work. I am very interested in it. I'm very interested in psychology, personal development, that kind of thing. And I just want to share what I learn. Like, it's I don't know what it is, but it's like, it needs to come out. Like, I don't want to just keep it within myself. And that's how I also started my content creation journey. First I was kind of talking about my high society experiences, what I learned of how to be successful in those circles, how to kind of fit in and not feel awkward, and how to be successful in networking, dating, that kind of thing, right? Because I didn't want to just gatekeep the information, because I knew a lot of girls were curious, but not everybody had access to that. And so there's something about, making this information accessible and not just kind of, die with this information without sharing it with anyone. And I don't know, that drives me a lot. And I feel like one of the things I enjoy so much is to just learn. I love consuming new information, and I just need to share it with somebody.
Yeah, I love that. So you pivoted on your channel a few different times.
Oh, I'm happy you saw that, Erika.
Yes. You brought the things up a little bit. So give the cliff notes of that journey, and what has been the most challenging aspect of pivoting so publicly?
Yeah, I think I've pivoted. First, it was like high society. Then it was like high society and luxury. And then it was like elegance, and then also like elegance and style. And now it's like, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, because I feel like I am pivoting also a bit right now. And that's the thing. I just wish that, pivoting should be like normal or normalized. But I feel like on YouTube, we are so forced to belong to a niche, and I can't stand that. Literally, I'm like, oh, algorithm, I don't like you because you put too much labels. You're not inclusive. We need diversity. We need to be able to really, I think, cater to all our interests. Now, I know our audience might not be interested in everything that we are interested in. I get it.
Mhm.
but there should be some more room for that creative outlet to happen at least.
Yeah, it's interesting because the thing is like you build or you become viral off of something, right? For you, in your case, it was elegance, or you
Yes.
had some of your videos go viral related to dating, and maybe that's how that misconception about you about being a dating coach come in, right? So you go viral, you get in front of all these people, millions of people, and then those people subscribe to you, they watch you for that content. And so in some ways your feet are held to the fire of like having to deliver now that content in which you went viral for. Did you find that to impact your journey?
Yeah, I must say it did impact me. I feel somehow in a negative way, actually.
Mhm.
Um, because when you go viral, let's say under the label of elegance or the
Mhm.
category of elegance, then you have to create more of that if you want to have growth on your channel, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But then elegance might not be the only thing you care about or the only thing you're passionate about. But then you start feeling kind of pressured of, no, but elegance is what seems to be working. I need to create more, and more. And to be honest, one mistake that I did, which I think it is an easy mistake that can happen, was that I started to become a bit overly strategic. I
Mhm.
started to sacrifice my creativity and what I also wanted to make as content.
Mhm.
And so I was just, pushing out the elegance, the elegance, the elegance. And then, it's almost like, okay, why do I then complain that people associate me as the elegance expert? Like, I
Mhm.
created this, like, like,
Right.
stop whining, girl.
It's like,
To be honest,
yeah, yeah.
But I didn't realize kind of the trap that I was making for myself because I wasn't listening to myself, like my authentic
Mhm.
self enough. I became a bit too strategic. And to be honest, I think strategy is important on YouTube. I don't think that we should completely neglect it, but I think we have to find a balance between the creativity, personal values, authenticity, and strategy.
Mhm.
And I think only that will foster some form of longevity for you, like mental health wise. And right now, I'm very much about kind of mixing up and like figuring things out. So when we
Mhm.
spoke about that, I'm currently pivoting. I have no idea what I'm pivoting towards. I don't
No.
know. We shall see. I mean, subscribe if you want to find out.
So then how do you then decide what you're creating on your channel?
Yeah. So okay, for full like background information, I've also worked with a YouTube coach.
Mhm.
Uh, I know, Erika, you are a YouTube coach,
Mhm.
and I think it is very important to invest in a coach. I think it's definitely worth the money.
Mhm.
The coach that I was working with, I hired this person right before I had my first viral video, which was in 2019. So I really do think that helped.
Mhm.
I learned loads. And although I absolutely love the coach that I used to
Mhm.
work with,
Mhm.
I decided to take a break because I just went too much into strategy. Okay.
Mhm.
And I needed to take a pause so that I could connect with my authenticity and creativity. So
Mhm.
that's just a full little background. So right now, I'm really tuning into what is it that I really want to say that I believe my audience needs to know or wants to
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
So obviously there is an element where I do incorporate a little bit of strategy, right?
Yeah.
But due to the fact that, with the YouTube, it's, the constant ebb and flow, like you talk about here on the
Mhm.
podcast.
Mhm.
It's also ebb and flow for me, even though I have 1.8 or whatever million subscribers, it's going to be ebb
Mhm.
and flow for all of us, right? We're all in the same boat with
Sure.
ebb and flow. And so in order not to get so disappointed or hung up on the ebbs, I started to really focus on creating meaningful content that means something to me. So
Mhm.
if the video does not perform, I don't get so hung up on it or it doesn't affect me mentally because I can walk away from having published that video and feel like, you know what? it was important for me to say that. And I got to say that. And even if just, XYZ number of people watched it, that's okay because it was important for me. And so that's the balance that I'm trying to create right now.
What is the most important thing that you want people to know about you?
I don't know if there is really anything because I'm really flexible towards like whatever people think of me. I don't know if that sounds a bit weird. Obviously, this wasn't so easy in the beginning, because in the beginning on YouTube, you feel judged, you feel misinterpreted, you feel, I don't know, like misunderstood maybe even, and that takes some time to get used to. And so today I've done a lot of work. Also, I have a therapist. I've been in therapy for 9 years. Amazing investment. Can highly recommend it. But now I just feel like I don't want to like prove myself to anyone anymore. I think in the beginning I wanted to, but now it's like, yeah, surely I want to be as clear as possible about kind of my messaging, all the like label misconceptions. Like I'm not a matchmaker, guys. Like stop calling me like that, But it doesn't matter so much anymore. Like, oh, do you like me or do you not like me? Because I do know that, well, you do know that as well. Nobody's going to like everybody.
Especially on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Plus, not everybody can resonate with everybody. I mean, you know how it is. We enter a room with strangers and we naturally gravitate to some and we naturally like look at some others, be like, no, I'm not sure we speak the same language or we have something in common, right? And that's normal it's fully normal. And the same goes on YouTube. So,
yeah. What do you think is something that people don't recognize about you that is positive that you wish people would?
I think that some people probably think that I'm some judgmental, stuck up B word. I don't know because, I definitely have received a few comments because, I have sometimes people approach me in person who see me on the street or something like that. And there has been a few times where people like, wow, you're so much nicer in person. I know. And I think that was when I started to reflect like, is there something wrong in the way I communicate for people to perceive me as this blah, blah, blah. But, then I also realized that yes, you can do your part of kind of, fixing up maybe some bad habits of yours. But then there's always going to be that percentage where people are still going to interpret you the way they want to, or through their kind of tainted lens or how they want to perceive. So like you can't really control that part. But I'm just trying to do kind of my share because I believe in that I want to be the best version of myself. That means also in my communication as good as it can get because I definitely don't think it will ever be perfect.
Though it's interesting because it's always, I feel as if this double-edged sword on YouTube, right? It's like you could argue and say, well, I have a certain communication style that maybe can be a little bit harsh. I totally resonate with that because that's me too. I'm actually fascinated. I want to read that book that you mentioned because I feel like I was like, okay, definitely I'm jiving with what you're saying. But at the same time, you could argue and say, but that is part of the reason, or could be part of the reason why you had such rapid success on YouTube. That not a lot of people achieve such fast success the way that you did, like really going viral and kind of taking off. So you don't necessarily, you want to be authentic to yourself, yet you still want to be not misunderstood. So it's kind of a hard balance, I would say, to figure out.
Erika, it's very, very hard. Incredibly hard because I 100% agree with you. Like, I don't want to lose my like authenticity. I don't want to lose like the quirks about me or, what makes me kind of unique. But my work is about kind of the work I do with myself and also the work where I teach women how to, polish themselves. It's to focus on the imperfections that like misinterprets you, if you can say that in English. I don't know what's the correct way of saying it, but I think what's important to me is to be understood. And I'm not just talking about communication, right? But sometimes I don't think we pay attention to kind of the signals that we send out about ourselves. And then we wonder like, oh, but why am I not able to like find a job or find a man or something like that? I'm not saying something is wrong with you. Not about that. But there is oftentimes there is a, misrepresentation.
Or there's a pattern, there's a pattern that there's something happening again and again and again.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's like having that self-awareness to know, like, okay, even though this is who I am, it's like, if I want to accomplish something different, if I want to
Yes.
change the trajectory of where I'm going, like, I have to take a deeper look at myself.
So, back to your question about, but wasn't that what made you successful? The unpolishedness in speech. And yes, 100%. So that's why I want to keep, as much of that as possible. In fact, lately I've been leading even more with that, but in a different way. Like I'm really opening up my personality so people really can see it. Even, my speech is heavily unpolished now. I mean, without going back to my really bad habits back in the day of like swearing, because I don't want to, like, I don't feel like that is who I am, the swearing part. I 100% understand that if other people want to swear, but that's just not me, right? So that's kind of how I'm figuring out, okay, what is me? What are my kind of quirks? But what are just bad habits that I feel are not resonating with myself? And that's what I want to work on.
Yeah, I've noticed in your videos recently that there's this, I don't know if it's a lighter side, but kind of more of I see more of a quirkier, kind of fun, kind of, I don't know. There just seems like to be a little bit of a lighter energy now.
Yeah, because, first and foremost, I mean, I think every YouTuber who watches this can absolutely relate. I mean, don't we all just like tense up as soon as we switch on that camera, right? And I did that for what, 5 years? You know? And so it's just, I think, yeah, in maybe the last year that I started to just relax more. Because I look back in my videos and I'm like, wow, why so serious? Like, because that's not me, you see me now, I'm joking and laughing because that's kind of how I am usually. And so I'm trying to be with that more.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about the business side of YouTube. I love discussing, monetizing and really making this a business, because you can have fun with YouTube, but if you can't make any money from it, then you can't do it, right? So, what would you say, what are your main sources of revenue from your YouTube channel?
So I've always focused on having my own online products. So in the past, I've created online courses. Right now, I have an online membership program because, as you probably have noticed, my passion is teaching. And so that's what I love doing. And I think that's what I kind of want to do as much as possible forever. I just really enjoy it. And so, yeah, that's my main source of income. Obviously, I also get the AdSense. And once in a while, I do a collaboration, but not often, maybe twice a year.
Oh, really? Is that a deliberate choice to not do the brand collaborations?
Yeah, it's a very deliberate choice because one of the things that I really like about YouTube is the freedom it gives you, right? The fact that you are your own boss. But as soon as you start working with brands, then you have a boss to report to, basically. And I don't want that. I want to have freedom. I don't want to have a bunch of deadlines all the time. I mean, surely YouTube in itself is already a bit of a deadline machine going on. But I can afford, like, if something happens and I don't want to publish a video, I can afford that. But if there's a brand collab, no way. You have to really put everything on hold and prioritize the brand. I mean, maybe some brands can understand depending on what the issue is, but I just don't want to live under that pressure. And that has been really important for me to really create a lifestyle, like a content creation lifestyle that works for me. And that lifestyle can look in so many different ways. And I think sometimes maybe creators don't think about it. They maybe just think like, oh, being a creator or influencer is just about working with brands. But no, there are so many other ways that you can monetize.
Do you ever feel like you're leaving money on the table by not working with brands?
Yes, but I feel like I also leave money with the table in many areas as well. And I think in the beginning, it was very important for me to have a very profitable business because I wanted to scale. I was a bit kind of stuck in the hustle culture element. Plus, I was working with a lot of like marketing coaches, and I don't know, I think they really influenced me. I'm not saying they were bad or anything. No, they were great. I learned loads from them. But I think that it wasn't really authentic to me after a while. So I kind of just like dropped all of that and started to focus on leave money on the table type of thing. As an example, I started scaling down my business because I just didn't want to have all these employees and becoming now a manager. At some point, I had like 10 people working with me. now I have 2. So I did a major scale down, which not a lot of people talk about. I don't know if other people do it, but I certainly never hear about it. But I did it. And you know what? Never been happier. It was the best decision I could ever make. And I would say it actually cured my anxiety. So for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, the stress of running a business started or gave me anxiety. I mean, and I have, spoken about my anxiety publicly. I have a video about it on my channel. And then I started, one day, it was actually end of 2022. I'm like, you know what? This is not doing it for me anymore. Like, I need to make changes. Like, this is not at all the life I signed up for. Like, what am I doing? And I realized that obviously it's me. Like, I just started to, just say yes, yes, yes. And let's do this, let's do that. And, everything was a great idea. And I wanted to do a lot of things. Plus, I wasn't really asking myself, like, what kind of work lifestyle do I want? I just thought, like, on autopilot, I was just thinking, growth, the more the better, have a big team. It's cool. Well done, girl. You're a girl boss now, But it just made me unhappy. I got anxiety. I had no time, working loads. And honestly, even my creativity started to suffer. I remember there was 6 months where I didn't have time to not even read one book. And I had absolutely nothing new to say. And I remember like, shit, I have to record a YouTube video, but I have nothing new to say. What am I going to talk about? Because if you don't even have time to nurture your creativity, your brain, then you just become a broken record. You just say the same thing over and over again because you're not feeding yourself with new information, right? You don't even have time to think. So I'm like, no, this has to change. So I started scaling down in 2022. It was a gradual process. And now, 2 years later, wow, so happy. I haven't had anxiety in over a year and it's been amazing. Like now I'm really, now I'm really enjoying the fruit of my labor. Now when I had 10 employees, that was a nightmare.
Wow. So did you change though the revenue? Did the revenue get impacted with your decision to scale down?
Oh yes, of course. I make much less money now,
really?
but I'm much happier now.
Can you give like a percentage wise? Like, would you say it's 20% less, like 30, 40?
So the thing is, between you and me and everybody on YouTube now, I'm not so good at math, so I don't know, but it's for sure for sure 50% less, or I don't know. Yeah, but maybe, okay, I just want to say, because I'm sure some people listening now will get annoyed, and because obviously it is it's a form of privilege to be able to be like, yeah, I don't care, Obviously I do care to a certain degree because I definitely want to save up money, and have, a parachute to fall back on if, something happens in the future. So that is important. I'm not saying money is not important, but I think I'm trying to find a balance between revenue and fulfillment and not living with anxiety because it's not worth it. Life is what happens now. Who knows what's happening tomorrow, right?
I think that's a very, it's like a very deliberate decision that you have to make. Like you said, like, it's a place of privilege, but at the same time, you have to choose, you have to make choices. Yeah. And sometimes money isn't everything. And at some point, like you said, it's like, if it's becoming so, if your business is running you, then what's the point of even being on YouTube in the first place? A lot of people, maybe it's yourself included, get onto YouTube because they have something to say, but they also like the freedom of being their own boss and doing what they want to do. Instead, when they create a machine that you did that now controls you, you just feel like you're back at, being a cog in the machine again.
Yeah, you create your own prison.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just, from the revenue perspective. It can be from all kinds of perspectives,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything from chasing views. I was also a view chaser at some point, having less than 100K views on a video. Oh my God, what a loser, that kind of thing. And like, or pressures from other people and their opinions, what you should be doing with your channel or with your content or how you do things. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many complexities that we don't always think about, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have there ever been any financial mistakes you've made as
Yes.
a YouTube creator?
My clothing line that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, tell us about that.
Honestly, Erika, wow. If I can, there's one key takeaway your audience should have from this conversation. Do not create a clothing line.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. You know, it's
Yeah.
been doing a clothing line years ago too. And
Really? What kind of clothes?
yes, it was licensed apparel for women. So
Oh.
we did like things that you could sell at stadiums. So in LA, it's the Clippers, the Lakers, the Kings. Yeah, so I went through that world, and I would never have a clothing line again. But I want to hear. I want to know what was your experience like?
All right. Okay. There was a lot. It's a very long conversation, so I'm going to try and make it as short and sweet as possible.
Okay.
All right. I did my due diligence before because I've heard from creators. I have friends who have made clothing lines. I really did my research, and everybody said how difficult the industry is, how difficult it is to create. It's very, the margins are not always big, but I'm like, let me
money
have.
up front,
Yes. But I had a bunch of savings at this point. So I'm like, let me try to be a bit clever. I'm going to outsmart the system. Backfired. You're not as smart as you think, girl, And so what I did was that I found somebody who I hired for this project as a project manager and leader. And she was basically taking care of everything. So she specializes in launching clothing lines for people. Not necessarily only influencers, but just anyone who wants. And so it's her and another person, and the other person has a manufacturing company. So basically, they take care of everything. All you have to do is to provide them with the designs, and then they will even help you like finding the pattern cutter, or they will help you source the fabrics. You're there, approving every step on the way, approving the fabric. Yeah, exactly. So they're going to take care of all the headaches because that is based on my research. I noticed what a lot of kind of influencers who launch clothing lines, what they kind of complained a lot about was that there were so many unforeseen things that they didn't plan for. And I'm like, no, but I'm going to hire experienced people for this. And so I did. And to be honest, they did a good job to a certain degree. Certainly we had some, miscommunication and issues, but I'm not sitting here blaming them. It's just that even with the help of them, it turned out to be a bit of a disaster. Because also, I don't know if many knows, but like since the pandemic, all the manufacturing, like in the supply chain, like materials, everything has gone up with 30%. That's why if you go to your favorite store, let's say, I don't know, you like Sandro or Maj, and you check their dresses, like they're not, I don't know, just a 200 dress anymore. They're like 300 now. And so when my clothing line was finally ready, I couldn't keep it very affordable. And my audience just found it to be very expensive for them, and especially in this economy, which I fully understand. But the thing is, there were so many costs around, and some costs I do think were a bit unforeseen. I wish the people I worked with could have just briefed me more, because I think costs just got out of control at some point. And so obviously the higher the cost is of your item, the harder it is to sell. Now, mind you, we still have sold loads. But another mistake that I did was that, being bad with numbers, I just ordered too much quantity. And I still have
You still have inventory.
Huh?
You still have inventory?
Yep. So if anybody wants, just go to annabayshop.com. No, but seriously, it has been such a nightmare project. And that's just like a very brief description. There's been so many mess ups that I'm not even going to get into, because I don't want to waste your precious time listening to this. All I can say that everybody who was part of my team, including my husband, who is not part of my team, but he eventually had to like step in and help in this entire mess. We all got traumatized. I mean, I know we should maybe use the word traumatized so easily, but it's just as a metaphor. Yeah,
just a bad experience. Are you able to say how much you lost, like financially, from that endeavor?
That's a good question. We haven't broken even yet. That's what I do know. So, I mean, we have sold, more than half of the stock, right? So we have sold quite a lot. It's just that, yeah, we haven't broken even yet. And I mean, I do. Okay, so my goal is to like break even and then try to forget about this nightmare and just, because I'm closing shop, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there like a misunderstanding, but it sounds as if what happened was that you went into this, you hired people, it cost far more than you thought. So it upped the price of your clothing. And then as a result, you didn't sell as much
Yeah,
as
exactly.
you thought. So is it that, when you said you bought too much, I understand that in the industry you have minimums and things like that.
Yeah.
But was there like a not misunderstanding, the word I'm trying to think of is like, was there just whoever was helping you or yourself, did you not realize like really that the audience wasn't gonna convert into sales like you thought it would?
Yeah, I don't think I was realistic about at what price point I was going to be able to sell. I actually thought I was going to be able to sell it more affordable. So, just for reference for those listening, like the dress that I'm wearing, it's slightly over $300, which is a lot of money. I get it. And so I thought maybe I would be able to sell for like $200, right? But then once all the costs came together, it was impossible to go that low. And some of my audience, they think that I'm keeping the prices high because I want to just like profit off them, And that's not true at all. Actually, people don't really realize how many moving parts go into the clothing. I mean, and that's what's a nightmare, Erika. You know that.
All the size ranges and then all the different styles. And I know.
And plus, when there are so many moving parts, things are not flowing everywhere. There's going to be mistakes here. There's going to be issues here. And when there are so many moving parts, it becomes a full-time job to deal with all the issues that pop up. And it's so emotionally draining and stressful. And this is not even my main business. This is just a little side thing that I was doing because my audience requested it. Yeah. I heavily regret it now.
Really? You regret that?
Oh, big time. If I could change one thing, it would be this clothing line. Go away.
Is it just the time, the money? Do you think it maybe impacted also the way your audience perceived you?
Maybe, perhaps, yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, I do the best I can with like my journey, right? So if somebody thinks I'm doing something wrong, then I mean, I can't do more than I'm doing right now. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. But I think it's more kind of the emotional turmoil that it has caused, not just me, but everybody behind the scenes as well. It was really stressful. I kid you not, like the headaches that we have been dealing with, it just has not been worth it. And then just knowing that right now we're still losing money on this project and we might not even break even just makes me feel like, yeah, no, it's awful.
When did you launch the clothing line?
When did I launch it? Over a year ago. July 2023.
Okay. So at what point did you realize that was a mistake?
Oh gosh, probably I think after like a few months.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh well, we live and learn.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So what has been the most profitable decision you made for your channel?
Profitable? I'm trying to think because, profitable is not always like, what brought in kind of the most money, right? I think sometimes profitable can mean like what gives you longevity. Because I think that, I mean, there's a lot of creators who, check out after a few years. And I feel like, okay, sure, I'm not like an OG here, been at it since 15 years. No, but I've been at it now it's going to be, it's been what, 6, 7, I started in 2018. How many years ago is that? You see, I can't count. 6 years?
It's funny. That's exactly January of 2018 is when I started my coaching business and courses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so as an example, I think one profitable decision is, leaving money on the table. I know it sounds kind of counterproductive, but no, I think as long as you stay connected to your authenticity, I think that's going to give you longevity. And so that has been, profitable from that sense. But I know it kind of maybe sounds weird throwing in like authenticity in the mix of profitable. I'm not adding authenticity to profit. It's, it's important for me,
Yeah. Well, that YouTube it's that platform where I always say long form, long game, and you have to make sometimes not so obvious decisions so that you don't burn out or so that you have, like you said, longevity on the platform.
Exactly. But I think for longevity as well, you have to keep reinventing yourself. I mean, that is so important. And I think, kind of one thing that I do teach is reinvention. And that is something I keep doing on myself too. And I think that has definitely helped in the YouTube journey as well.
You actually took one of the questions from me, which
Oh,
was, how do you stay innovative and relevant in an industry that changes so quickly?
so I've been already touching upon this in the interview today, but I think the fact that I really love learning and keep expanding my mind. And because of that, I keep drawing kind of new aha moments, conclusions, etc., that I want to share with people. And that might not always be just with the topic that I'm known for. It can be in a little bit of new topics, but oftentimes somehow related to the women who are already in my audience. So it's not like, okay, I teach elegance today, but tomorrow I teach you about vaping or something. you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's somehow always a red thread, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I innovate. I try to have a red thread but keep investing in my own brain. I mean, this is what, it should be treated like gold. Like this is your, how can I say, not your trophy, but your most precious crown jewel.
That's it. Your number one asset.
Exactly. And you have to water that plant because that is the plant that's gonna, give you longevity. If you don't water it, your fruit is gonna die.
What did you say? You said red thread?
Yeah, like a red thread. In Swedish, because I'm from Sweden, it makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense in English.
No, I'm curious what it is because what you're saying though, the concept is actually something that I teach so much, and when I work with my clients, it's almost the most important thing to stay on this platform long term while you're going through different iterations of yourself is to have the same mission. That's what I always say, is that you have a mission, right? There's shared values. There's values that you share with your viewers and your audience. And while your interests might change, your mission, that stays the same. And you're able to change and pivot because you have those shared values. And the problem with a lot of creators is that if they don't end up sharing that with their viewers, sometimes these pivots come at left field and people are, they're like, well, what's going on? So it sounds like you figured that out. It's like there's that like you call red thread, right?
That's right.
I always say if I've been trying to come up with a name for it too, I always say the mission, but it's true. When I visualize it, it's actually a thread that holds everything together.
Exactly.
And that goes from one ring to the next. So
there are some creators who completely are able to pivot from one weird thing to another. I mean, not weird in a bad sense, but
I have people I work with. I have a good friend and also a client who she switched from doing pop sockets to a bunch of different things, and now she does true crime. On the same channel, which is insane.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to say, because I was reading your bio before, because I heard, because obviously I was, researching your podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, but to be honest, I've listened to it in the past as well, but you haven't uploaded in a while. So, but having you back now.
Yes, I'm back. I know. I'm excited. I'm so excited to have you here. But I had a baby and I took a few years off, and then I got really busy with my business also. So, but I miss talking to people.
Yeah, it's good that you came back because I think, what you're doing is really important and it's helping a lot of, female creators, maybe male creators too, who knows? And I think you're doing important work. So yeah, keep going.
Oh,
but so I was, checking out your bio. And so you said in your bio that you have like a different approach of teaching your clients, right? And it said something, I don't know, the impression I got that you were teaching kind of strategy together with balance or in a balanced way. I thought that was really cool, I must say.
Thank you. Yeah. And so much of like what you're saying, it resonates with me on that too, because you said that, initially when you got started, you're so strategy heavy. And that's what I found when a lot of creators come to me, is that they've almost you said it too. It's like you created a trap. Yeah. They put themselves in this trap, but it's hard you can't blame people because the algorithm works that way, where you would lean into it. And we even say lean into what works, but you have to from the beginning. it starts from the beginning. When you start, be so crystal clear on what your own value system is and what values you're wanting to share. And also that mission I talked about and your own life. So I use that and I weave that into all of my teachings. And that's part of the reason why I love this podcast and I love interviewing people, because that's how we're able to have these actually real conversations. It's not just about, oh, what thumbnail, what does your thumbnail look like? There's so much behind every single video that you put up, for you on your channel.
Yes. And advocating for women, I think women maybe have sometimes more kind of need for these values and this mission that you're talking about, because sometimes I look at some male creators, and this is no shame at all, but there's a bit of like bro marketing going on there, very much hustle culture. And I think, for men, maybe it's more easy for them or more natural for them to be in that element. But I think for us women, we oftentimes need something more. And I think it's good that you're touching on that balance.
Yeah. And that's something that I have this experience of working with so many women and having coached at this point over 1,000 women creators. It's exactly what you said. It's like, it's kind of like shouting from the rooftops. It's like, we don't want to, that's what a lot of people are talking about here is that's not what we want to do. We want to create instinctively, want to create from our own intuition, right? So, and then you say balance. I always say balance because there's a balance. You can't just create from your intuition and be like, well, I don't feel like creating for the next 4 weeks. Like you have to have a schedule. You have to, you have to get an ROI from your work, right? You have to make money. That's why I love talking about money. But at the same time, I also like talking about our feelings and our intuition and everything behind that, because there is that balance between the two. And in order to stay longevity on YouTube, in order to not burn out, you have to have that balance, because if you go too much into the strategy and the financials, you're going to burn yourself out because you're going to be doing things that you don't want to be doing. But if you go so much into that intuition and like fluffing it, then you're not making any money.
Exactly. 100%. You're wise, Erika. I second that.
Thank you. You are very wise too. And I want to know, why do you think you've been so successful on YouTube?
I mean, for sure, the fact that I've been very blunt, that has helped, because maybe for some people there's a bit of shock value going on there. For me, I haven't, spoken like this because I want to shock people on purpose, just who I am. Right. But besides that, I think, for me also, like I was saying earlier, like in my bubble, in my environment, we can talk freely about like high society, luxury life, the finer things in life, like Botox, you name it, right? Without it being weird. And so that's kind of like how I went into this, just like, talking, just speaking from a
being
place
yourself, being authentic.
Yeah. Speaking, I mean, I can be a little bit naive sometimes, so I can, and I think that helped. Obviously now I am a little bit more cautious, not gonna lie, you do get traumatized after a few years. But I still really try to, again, find that balance where I'm not just, being superly afraid of everything. Because obviously you can enter in that mindset too, which means that your career is gonna die soon if you do.
100%. Has there been anything about your YouTube channel or your journey that's made you cry?
Yeah, I remember when my channel got hacked and deleted. I was crying.
Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, that was awful. This was, I don't remember if it was like 2021 or something like that. It just came out of the blue. All of a sudden there was someone had basically entered my channel and they started live streaming some Bitcoin thing. I called my coach who hopped on a call with me. We basically shut the live stream down. And then they started it again, and we couldn't figure out how did they have access, what's going on.
Yeah,
and then we shut it down again, and then they got pissed. So they started live streaming porn because they kind of just wanted to punish me, because they knew YouTube immediately is going to block you and delete your channel, which YouTube did. It literally took like a minute. How
big was your channel at this time? Like how many subscribers?
Oof, I don't remember. It must have been around 1 million or something. Yeah.
And that's how long ago this happened?
Like a few years ago, maybe 2-3 years, something. I can't remember exactly now, but I mean, luckily, because this YouTube coach of mine, he had some, some people on YouTube. So I got my channel already back the next day, but it was awful. Erika, I mean, that to me was really like one of the worst experiences, because when you work so hard for something and you don't want to lose it because you love what you do, I can't put words on how it felt. It was terrifying. It was the worst nightmare of any content creator, because you don't know at that point, will you ever get it back? So I
How
didn't
long
know.
were you in that limbo?
Okay, only 16 hours. I know I sound
Okay.
maybe a bit like
Well,
dramatic.
I mean, it's a big deal, though. I mean, I have actually known other people that same thing for some random reason, whatever, their channel got completely. That's your life's work.
Yes.
That's everything.
I mean, those 16 hours felt like 16 years. That's how slow time passed in that moment. So I know that also, again, another privileged position to be able to have that connection. And it was just, by luck that he had that connection, or not by luck, but by experience, right?
Mhm.
And so had I not have had this person, I mean, I don't know what would have happened.
It's crazy to think that somebody of your size, at 1 million subscribers, that you wouldn't even have like some kind of a lifeline to YouTube to be able to be like, hey, look at what happened.
Yeah, I think at that point, I still didn't have a channel manager. I got it quite late.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't remember at how many. No, I got it right. Yeah, I got it right before I hit 1 million. So,
Mhm.
did I have? I can't remember exactly if I
Yeah.
had 1 million when I was hacked, but for sure I had already quite a lot of subscribers.
Wow. Any advice for anyone listening and watching to have that not happen to them?
Yes. So we did figure out why it happened. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Take notes now.
Yeah.
So, one of my virtual assistants, so she was helping me with moderating the comments. So she had her own login as like, a channel manager, right? So not full access. She did not have a two-step authentication on her Google account email, and that's how they got in. So,
Whoa. That's so
mhm.
bad. I know. I have every security, that's everything possible because it's so important.
Plus, the email that she was using was one of my Gmails, which was like my channel name at gmail.com. So stupid. Do not use that. Like, make something really weird up as your Gmail for this purpose, so that they're not going to guess like,
Well, that's usually what it is, and I'm wondering if that's because it's usually is that they send an email and then whoever receives the email like click through, and then that's kind of how they get in. I wonder if that's what happened to her, or did they actually get into her account? Because most of the time,
true.
that's what I found is that. And so the number one tip that I've heard is don't ever display your YouTube login anywhere publicly that you use, because that's how YouTube would communicate with you, right? And how they could kind of pretend to be YouTube, and then don't ever click on anything in an email from YouTube unless you can really it's from YouTube.
I think you're right. Now that, we're going back down the memory lane, I think that's actually what happened.
Yeah. You gotta be. I mean, it's a big deal. Have you ever regretted uploading a video?
I don't think so, actually. I mean, listen, there are videos that I look back at now that I'm cringing heavily at. And some of them, like, oh, did I
Which
have
ones?
to? Okay. So I think a lot of the ones about, like, the very early ones, like what turns rich men off or something like that, because it just sounds a bit cheesy. I don't know, it sounds a bit cringy now. Plus, I mean, I'm sure or everybody probably knows, not everybody does know this. So, with titles, you have to be short and concise. So over the years, as an example, I used keywords like rich instead of longer keywords like wealthy or whatever, right? And rich just sounds more cheesy and more kind of like lame in a way. But so I would use them because I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, let's do this. People will understand, but I didn't understand that people don't necessarily understand. So yeah, that's an example.
Yeah, definitely. And then, what part of your success are you most proud of?
I'm actually really proud of the fact that YouTube has helped me improve as a human being. Okay, this is a weird thing, but okay. probably goes back to what I was saying earlier, that I'm really into personal development. And actually, when you embark on this journey as a creator, you're going to have to face some demons of yours in terms of, like, there are things that you have to reflect over. There are things that you have to take into perspective about yourself. You're going to have to look at yourself from a different angle than how you see yourself. And that has been incredibly helpful in my personal development journey. As an example, like, you know, every YouTuber has to deal with hate. It's just part of the job. And so hate makes you have to reflect how you handle rejection. And that's a very deep and introspective journey that, you know, some people go on. And that's what I did. And that's just an example. Like, there are so many other ways where I feel like it has helped me grow and helped me, understand myself, my shortcomings, my strengths. It has certainly made me more stronger than before, but not just YouTube, but like the whole running an online business in general. I feel like, wow, I've gone through so much in the last 6 years. I didn't know I could handle all of this, but I did it, you know? So, you know, that gave me a bit of confidence.
Do you feel like you've gotten a lot of hate in your journey so far?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why, but for some reason, people have always found my content to be very polarizing. And to me, I just don't get, I still don't understand why, actually. Maybe it is because of who I am or how I deliver things. Maybe, you know, could be. But I also do think that to a certain degree, you know, the topic of elegance, the topic of rich people, the topic of marrying up, you know, triggers very strong feelings in people. And some people, you know, have kind of no issues with these kind of subjects, but some people, you know, they're bringing in their baggage, like their issues, their perspectives when they view me. So obviously, how you relate to the subject is going to be very different to how somebody else relates to the subject. And so I didn't really think about this when I started. I certainly know this now. I'm more prepared for it now mentally, but of course, in the beginning, it was difficult because I couldn't understand, like, how can people find elegance triggering? Like, what world are we living in now that I am polarizing because I teach elegance? I just don't get it, you know? I don't get it. But yeah.
How do you handle the hate personally?
So, of course, I have some strategies in place because I think as much as I have grown immunity to it now, of course, on a bad day, you read a comment, it can always affect you. So I'm very cautious and protective of, you know, this crown jewel over here. I'm very mindful when I read comments, as an example. I have a virtual assistant who is full-time with me, and she cleans all the time because that's one of the things, like, make sure that when I step in to read the comments, it's a bit cleaned up in one way or another. But, you know, sometimes things slip through. Mind you, we have loads of keywords set up so that, like, the biggest trash already goes to the trash box or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But then I really make sure that I only read comments when I'm in a good, good mental state, because on a fragile day, like, it can get to you, and I don't want them to have access to me. That's the thing, and luckily they don't have it. But in the beginning, I didn't really have any of that in place. So
I think that's so important. It's, you know, it's so funny because I was on a call with one of my clients last week, I think, and she's very successful on YouTube. And she will say, like, this one negative comment, she's like, out of hundreds, will derail her. Like, and I'm just like, okay, you got to, and I actually use that phrase, you got to clean up shop. And if you have to hire someone to literally delete those comments so that your house is clean before you walk in there, that is going to preserve your mental space so that you don't burn out on the platform. And sometimes you got it. Some people can look at it and be like, oh, whatever. But if you have some self-awareness to know that seeing a negative comment like that is going to now bleed into the rest of your day, which will bleed into the next video you create, which will bleed into everything. You have to protect your own sanity. And also, this is what I said too. I was like, you owe the people that do love you to not to put so much attention on that person, because now you're completely dismissing the love and, you know, just the connection that these people have with you by putting your energy towards, a few of those negative Nancys.
And as I was researching for this episode, I was listening to some of your old podcasts, and there was one creator, I don't remember who now, who said that she doesn't delete any comments because she believes in freedom of speech. And I thought that was quite an interesting thing she said, so I needed to reflect over that, what do I think about that? And I actually don't think that negative comments is free speech, because I think it's just abuse, psychological abuse, bullying, etc. I don't see that anymore as free speech. I think it's different, and I want personally to protect my space and my mental health and my audience from that, because when there's a bunch of trash in your comments, people are also going to be put off by, because they're coming there not to read the negative, they're coming there to maybe, let's see what somebody else also suggests or what other perspectives, But if there's a bunch of crap there, then you're also ruining it for the audience, right?
You are. I have a course I created because I was so passionate about this. It's my Capture Your Confidence course. And in there, I have a whole module on hate, right? And I did a lot of research on this too. And it's a few interesting things. And I use this video clip from Eddie Murphy, and it's a comedy bit that he did. Something about it's something about get out of my house, get out of my goddamn house. It was a really funny comedy bit. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was exactly the thing. And you use the word your space. It's about, your house. This is your house, right? And if somebody's in there and they're tracking mud through your house and they're being disrespectful and they're being rude to the guests, it's get them out of there, because they're ruining the party. They're ruining the vibe, right? And so it is almost in some ways your responsibility to make sure that you've got this community. And what I always say too is I get the idea. I do understand the idea of free speech to an extent. I think if people completely delete anything somewhat critical, I think that it can bleed into all right, are you deleting every single comment, or are you just deleting the people that are just truly nasty, right? And as a creator of your own channel or your own house, you could, in my opinion, you can do whatever you want. If you want to delete anything negative, great. What I always say is I want to delete every single criticism, because sometimes it can be constructive criticism, something that's whatever, right? But if there's a comment there that's just derailing the comment section, it's your house. You can do what you want with it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I think this is a personal choice. I do choose to leave some. I do appreciate when people have a different opinion to me and they express it eloquently. It's absolutely fine to disagree, but let's have it without passive aggressiveness or, Anna, you're a jerk, or you're a loser,
Yeah.
And so those, of course, why not? And also, okay, sometimes I do like to keep a few nasty ones too, because I don't know, sometimes I actually like to respond to them.
Yeah, it's quite funny sometimes, there's when I get the weirdest things even for me. I'm that's just such a funny, interesting comment that I just, a lot of them I just leave up and I'll just respond. I'm well, sorry, that's just the way I look. If someone's mean about your looks, okay, what are you going to do? So
yeah, I have one of the blocked keywords that I have is filler, because every day I get your lips are so ugly. You're so botched. Why did you do your lips like that? And I'm but I was born like this.
Yeah, that's the way I look. Yeah, just okay, sorry, But okay. Well, this has been amazing, and I've loved chatting with you. We have one last question. We're gonna wrap it up, and that is, if you could go back to when you first started on your YouTube, what advice would you give yourself?
Get a speech coach and hope for the best. No, but really, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really think I would have done too much difference. This is just really the communication that I kind of look back at now. Oh yeah, and also not the clothing line, because you know why. No, but besides that, I think even in the midst of mistakes, I still feel like I have been truly, honest with myself and stay true to myself. And yes, sure, in the beginning I was very stiff and very awkward and very serious in front of the camera, but who wasn't? It's part of the evolution to improve. And so, yeah, no, kind of no regrets.
I love that. Well, Anna, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I've been a big fan of your channel and your content for years, and it's cool talking to you. I'm oh my gosh, She's so cool. I love chatting with you. And for people that don't know who you are, or just seeing you for the first time, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Anna Bey on YouTube. Or actually, I have a second channel as well called Anna Bey's Living Room. Don't ask me why it's called like that. I just didn't know what to call it. And I might create a third channel, but probably not. I just want to talk about, it's like a therapeutic little project. So it's not like for a business venture or anything like that. I just want to talk about like creator stuff.
Why
I
not?
don't know.
Why not just put it all on your main channel?
But that's the thing. It ruins the algorithm, YouTube and how it categorizes you. And that's my message. If anybody at YouTube listening right now, please improve the algorithm so we can talk about more things than just one thing.
They're just elegance or dating, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
we'll see.
yeah. Well, Anna, I'm going to have all the links in the description. So if you guys want to check her out. But thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Erika. I really love talking to you too. I've also been listening for years.
Oh, thank you for that, Anna. Bye.
Bye.